Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kurt, and welcome back to Farlands or Bust. You can call me KurtJMac, spelled M-A-C-K, apparently. We'll get to that in a moment, but yeah, welcome back to Farlands or Bust. This is episode 351 of the series, and let's have Wolfie eat some pork chops shaped like bones, thanks to a texture pack, and continue west. Ooh, I should make some torches. That is not how you make torches. Boop, 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 boop. And, oh, that's the end of that. All right, continuing on with Wolfie. But yeah, episode 351. Today is Monday, May 5th, 2014. Cinco de Mayo. I don't know why I said it like that, but it's Cinco de Mayo, everybody. The holiday that they don't really at all celebrate in Mexico, but we make such a big deal about it here in the United States in order to sell certain brands of beer. No, I don't know. It's kind of like St. Patrick's Day. Is St. Patrick's Day a big thing in Ireland? I don't know that it would be, but it's something we just adopt for an excuse to partay here, as I said, in the United States. But Cinco de Mayo, yesterday was May the 4th, and today is May the Cinco. So, so yeah, we're continuing on and raising money for Child's Play charity. Raised a little bit more over the weekend, up to $1,586.68. Thank you, everybody who keeps donating. FarlandsBust.com, you can do that. But earlier in the episode, some 30 seconds ago, I mentioned that my name is KurtJMac, M-A-C-K, and that is from yet another round of the press features for Farlands or Bust ever since that New Yorker article came out. The emails, they do not stop. No, they do, but and sometimes I make them stop. Cease and desist. Ooh, I almost didn't make that jump. And I got interviewed and had a small segment, and I'm happy it was a small segment. I'll explain in a moment, but a small segment on the BBC4 radio program called Digital Human. They contacted me, and I'm like, okay. I recorded this thing, and it went up today. I'll put a link in the video description. It is, I suppose, if you want to find it yourself, Digital Human, Series 5, Episode 5, and they refer to me in the online version, in like the synopsis, as KurtJMac. So the online username is still a little bit of a mystery to the non YouTube press. but yeah, it was basically the episode. Well, the show is about it's like a 30-minute program. BBC Radio 4 is like talk radio. I'm not entirely sure how the BBC, the radio stuff works. It's apparently very different to how radio in the United States works. Same with TV. It's like BBC is like the public broadcasting, and it would be like the PBS. If PBS in America owned like all the TV and radio channels, and I think that's how it would be. I don't know. I don't live there, but yeah, the show is kind of about how the digital human, how technology and the web and computers and technology is shaping our lives, and each episode is like 30 minutes long, and there's a different aspect to each episode. And this one was about breaking and hacking technology to make it our own. And I'm glad I was in a small segment, because I think I don't think I fit very well into the program that they were talking about. They started off, I just now listened to it, they started off interviewing a guy who is like a hot rod builder, which is kind of cool. It's something I'm interested in, but he hacks, quote unquote. He takes what the automotive company gives to him and then changes it and chops it down and puts a different engine in it and makes it his own. And that was kind of their starting point for the episode. Did that cow just take damage? Oh, hi. Wolfie, excuse me. Thank you. I need to get out this way. All right, that worked. And then they talked to, like, there was some expert they interviewed, and people who do, like, hacker spaces. And, you know, they talk about how, like, you know, there's planned obsolescence. I was just talking about this in an earlier episode about cell phones and things where, you know, Apple, they have a product cycle because they expect and plan for your iPad 1 or your whatever to die, and then they release a new product, so you have to buy the new one. And how, you know, the batteries are irreplaceable. I was talking about that with the Nexus phone, and how it's not user serviceable like computers are anymore, or laptops are less serviceable than PC towers, and started talking about that sort of stuff, which was cool. And excuse me. And one of the segments was about games, and how even within the game world there's a propensity. Is that the word? I think that's the first time I've ever used that word in context. The propensity, I say with vigor, the propensity to explore and try to reach the boundaries of the game and break the game. Whether or not, they didn't use this, but I kind of talked about how in racing games, how it was cool to try to jump over a wall that you're not supposed to jump over, and then you're free to roam a part of the track or the world that doesn't, you're not, you know, the programmer didn't want you to explore, or, you know, different things like that. And they brought up Far Lands or Bust because I'm trying to basically exploit a glitch in the game universe, in the fabric of the universe and the math that Notch built, but doing so without actually, like, making a mod or cheating. I'm doing so within the confines of the world, I guess, is kind of the metaphysical, super fancy way that they put it when talking about it. And it was a very short segment, and then they went on to somebody else who makes glitch art, how now, like, the weird interlacing and, you know, DVD issues can become like a form of art now by adding the static and stuff, is kind of could be an expressive thing, kind of like in the olden times, what was that film, Persona or something, or even more recently taken from that, Fight Club, how something crazy happens on the film, and then they do the effect like the film breaks off the reel, and that's kind of breaking that fourth wall and saying, oh, whatever emotional thing happened so intense within the scope of the film world actually broke the film. You know, thinking about that. But going back to my little short segment, yeah, that went up today. It was apparently, some people tweeted me saying they were, I suppose, just listening to the radio, and it came on, and then they heard it and were like, oh, that was a fancy little surprise. And then there's, I'll, like I said, put a link to the web version of the show. I think I come in about halfway, a little bit past halfway, maybe 15 minutes or so into the program. And that is the mystery. Back on episode 348, I started the first day by being incredibly, like, simple talking and really overview about what I was doing in Far Lands or Bust, and a really basic recap episode. At least that first day is they wanted, after the interview, they're like, you know, we looked at some of your episodes and you're really talking to an audience, and you're talking about NASA and the, you know, you're just talking to an audience that obviously knows you. Could you give us a clip of something that's a little bit more basic, where somebody who hasn't watched your show, where you're kind of talking about what you're seeing and what you're doing, maybe like a 10-minute clip. I'm like, okay, I'll just record an episode, and then the first day I'll give you that audio from that segment. So that's what that was from. There was a lot of speculation about why is Kurt acting so simply, or why is Kurt talking about these things that are very basic? Why is he doing this recap? Some people thought it was related to the mention that Gavin on the Rooster Teeth podcast gave me, but no. And, you know, other people looking at different things, but that was the reason. This was indeed the reason, and they used about, like, 15 seconds of the entire thing. But yeah, I'll, let me get across this little expanse of water, and I'll make an elevated hidey hole, and then I'll talk a little bit about that process. And, you know, it was interesting, and I'm like, okay, I'll be a part of this thing, but it didn't, at least the interview segment of it, the end product, the few minutes that they used, what they were talking about, Far Lands Bust and myself, I think turned out well, and I'm glad they used so little of it because I feel like what I recorded with them for the interview was subpar at best. So I was really nervous about hearing the final product and sounding like an absolute goob and goob. Well, I guess I am a goob because I can't say goob. So I don't know. Maybe there's a few people watching this episode who have joined us from listening to the radio show. I'm not a goob. Well, perhaps, and perhaps that's why people continue to watch this crazy goob watching and walking to the far lands, and continuing to do so in the morning. And a goobness. Right, Wolfie? Yep. So, yeah, basically, they contacted me via email. I said, sure. At first, I thought it was like BBC television. I didn't realize there was a whole radio division. So I was a little bit worried about that. I'm like, I don't know about doing a television segment. But basically, it's very strange radio. I didn't talk to the hosts. The host of the show is Alex Gorteski or something like that, and she's like the radio host of Digital Human, and I'm assuming she does host other radio shows and stuff like that, but never spoke to her ever. They basically emailed me some questions that they'd be asking, and then I got a call. Excuse me. I got a call. It was a little bit early. I almost like overslept, so I was already a little bit like behind schedule and was kind of nervous about that fact of it. They called. It was basically the show's producer, a guy who called, and because they didn't have a studio in my area, I guess normally when you're invited to do a radio segment like this, they have you go to a studio and do the recording. But they said, since I have a studio basically in my office here, that just take the call and have your microphone on and record your segment. And then I sent them my voice recording, basically. But yeah, basically it was really weird. The whole waking up almost too late kind of threw me off. I shouldn't have done this, but I listened to an episode before the interview call came in, and it was at that point that I realized it was kind of an intelligent, almost like NPR style talk show where the people talked very eloquently, and this series in particular, The Digital Human, talking about the impact on the human experience with technology, was a little bit higher brow than I'm used to. I'm used to recording here for gaming content on YouTube. Watch it, squids. All right, abandon ship. We have been hit by the Kraken. So that got me nervous. And I, having had the questions ahead of time, I had all these eloquent answers that flowed in my head and just made a lot of sense. But then when the interview actually came, like there was a question was, I'll just explain really briefly what Minecraft is. I had this thing about and just created by Notch, and it's a infinite world that generates based on algorithms, and it's an open-ended game. There's no beginning or end, and people play it either as an adventure game or they build it, within it like Lego, and very eloquent. And then when it came to actually recording the interview, describe Minecraft. It's a game where there's blocks. And I just, it went downhill from there. It was about like a half-hour interview of, recording that I did. And it kind of, I hope I'm not sharing any trade secrets here with the BBC radio or radio in general, but it's all because I didn't talk to the actual host. It's all obviously pre-recorded and then cut together later. I didn't, what was I about to say? What was I about to say, Wolfie? I totally blanked out there. I am a goob! Anyway, it's all pre-recorded, and I wasn't even talking to the host, and it just I don't know. I felt really like I was saying and stalling a lot and trying to think. And this is what I was gonna say. It seemed like, and you could tell in the show when you listen to the radio show. Good program. I'm not criticizing or anything like that, but it seemed like there was a definite theme and definite topics that they wanted to touch on during the show, and it felt like the questions and the way the person who was actually talking to me was trying to steer me in certain directions so that it would kind of match up what the rest of the show was about, and I feel like I just was completely missing that. I felt it, and I'm like, I think you want me to go somewhere, but I have no idea where you want me to go. So I just kind of, it was after that I was really a little bit kind of dejected, and I'm like, okay, I'm never doing radio interviews ever again. But it turned out okay. Like I said, they used a bit of it, and they talked about Far Lands or Bust a little bit. Obviously, the show was about hacking and breaking video games and breaking the technology around us and hacking and making it our own. So there was no mention about specifics about Far Lands or Bust or YouTube Let's Plays in general, or even the Child's Play charity thing or anything that we've done, and that's okay. That's fine. But I suppose if at the very least there is, a few people who are like, what, Minecraft? Maybe they haven't even heard of Minecraft, and I asked the Mindcrack guys who live in the UK, I'm like, what, is BBC Radio 4 like a big deal? And they're like, yeah, it's a pretty big thing, but, during the day, it's pretty much, people who don't have jobs or who maybe, it's a different audience than your YouTube. They went on to say, it's people at home ironing their clothes, just listening to the radio, and, so, yeah, I don't know. Maybe some people will find Far Lands or Bust. Perhaps they'll find the charity. Perhaps they'll find Minecraft. Perhaps they'll find YouTube Let's Plays. Who knows? A little bit of like I said, just spreading the spreading the world, spreading it like butter. But yeah, I'm glad they used a minimal amount of that half hour of tape that I gave them, because I felt like I completely fumbled. Oh well. It was interesting, and you guys can go check that out. The entire program is pretty interesting, so you can listen to the whole thing. But yeah, like I said, I think I come in about 15 minutes in, halfway into the program, and talk for a little bit about games. And I thought I made a good point. They didn't include this, but I thought I made a good point about, the show was about hacking and making the games our own, and they kind of turned it into, I'm trying to reach out to the creators of the game by breaking their game, by seeing the glitches that they left in. I made a good point about how that's been kind of flipped now, where now there's a huge modding community in gaming, where even games that weren't set up to be user modified, people are able to look at the code and program around it and make add-ons and make their own games within other games. You got your whole Gmod, obviously everything in Minecraft, and then there's games that actually actively encourage that. They give you a modding API, and they allow you to import your own cars into BeamNG Drive and tracks, stuff like that. So I thought I made that was like one part of the interview that I felt I was especially eloquent, and I brought up a good point, but they didn't use it. That's okay. But yeah, a lot of people, speaking of radio, I don't know, like I said, I don't know how big BBC Radio 4 or any of the radios are over there over in the UK, but the radio in general, people always say, because I do this YouTube thing, I commentate, and I've mentioned it before, people say, you should go into radio, and I'm sure they tell people with different radio voices like Beef or Pack Rat, or Pack Rat has like a real like AM radio voice, but you should go into radio, and honestly, to me, that and not to like put down anybody who is in radio or trying to get into radio, but that would seem, for my own personal path, my own personal career path, would seem like a backward step, because this is like the destination, the career, being able to do YouTube and doing video game commentaries, working with video games. So going into radio would seem like a step back, especially here in the United States. Perhaps it's my own perception, because I don't listen to or like radio, that I feel like the industry is definitely on a downswing and is struggling by far. Because now we have, ever since the advent of the iPod and the MP3 player, the on-demand listening to music. Well, at least with the music side, I'm not sure. I don't listen to talk radio at all, so I'm not sure where talk radio is going. But then again, we have podcasts, on-demand podcast. Careful, Wolfie! I don't want to punch you. With the advent of the internet, radio is kind of going by the wayside. So yeah, I don't feel like that would be a step forward for me. Of course, I should be careful what I say. This might have to, when YouTube ends up failing, I might have to fall back on that option. And I have considered it. There are, the radio colleges in Chicago, and, it would be interesting. I do like music. Of course, there's, like I said, also the talk program side of things, but it also feels like, at least my own perception, that radio is kind of a difficult industry to get into. It seems like you have to deal with being like an unpaid intern for years before you're even given the most minuscule of on-air responsibilities. You end up getting like the 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. time slot on a Sunday, is like, oh, now you don't have to get us coffees anymore, but this is your time slot. And I don't know, I wouldn't imagine it pays very well unless you're like, obviously there's your Howard Sterns and your big names like that get paid above and beyond, but the normal local radio show person, I'm sure, isn't particularly rolling in it. So neither am I, but I'm comfortable, and like I said, this is a comfortable place. This could be a final career destination for me, YouTube and whatnot. So anyway, let's go to sleep. I'll wrap that up and continue in the morning. And awakeness. And a good thing about the YouTube is that you don't necessarily need any specific schooling or skills. You can be a complete goob and still find some sort of mediocre success as a YouTuber, as a commentary guy, as a podcaster maybe, I don't know. Although podcasting, I'm really having problems talking today. It's this radio talk. Radio killed the internet star. There's a whole slew of things to go along with that, but anyway, regardless, thank you very much, all the people who said good things about them listening to the program and letting me know. I didn't even realize it was going live today, but here we are. I do have, for those of you who have still stuck around, I know the third day of Minecraft in Far Lands or Bust, we tend to lose most of the viewers by then, but I do want to mention, I always mention the NASA socials, NASA tweet-ups, as they used to be called. This is where NASA invites social media participants to join them for special events, most notably rocket launches. You get, for free, basically, you get free, quote-unquote, tickets, press access, up-close viewing of both the facilities and access to interview and talk to important people with the mission and at NASA. And also the launches, but it's a community of people who come together, and it's a really cool thing. I went to the Juno launch, the Juno NASA tweet up, and the first SpaceX NASA tweet up. I missed the launch on that one because it got scrubbed right at the last second, but yeah, there's a new one. This one is actually not at Kennedy Space Center, Florida. This is in Virginia. Wallops Flight Facility, Virginia. I'm assuming the east coast of Virginia, where they're inviting social media peoples, that is you and I and whoever, to witness the Orbital Sciences launch of their Antares rocket. And Cygnus. Is it Cygnus? I believe Cygnus is the name of the module that's going to the International Space Station. It's pretty much another private company who is contracted, much like SpaceX and the Dragon capsule, contracted to supply the International Space Station. This one, however, goes out of Virginia, Wallops Flight Facility, and this one, they are the NASA social is they're inviting 50 people with photography in mind. People who are really into your social sharing of photos, whether or not it be on your Instagram or your Flickr or whatever, or just photographers in general is what they're trying to go for. I'm not going to be signing up for this one. I'm not much of a photographer, and I'm also kind of taking a break from the NASA socials for a while, giving other people a chance. But there will be a link in the video description if I remember. It's nasa.gov/social to get the list of upcoming socials, and then you can look at this one in particular and sign up. The deadline for signups is at the end of this week, May 9th. And with most of them, especially the ones at facilities, launch facilities, this one unfortunately is available to U.S. citizens only, because these are generally, these are government installations. They do have to have some restrictions. Sometimes the NASA socials are available to international folks, but not so much with these ones, unfortunately. So yeah, check that out. I suppose if you are on the East Coast and you want to take a trip to Virginia, or perhaps you live there and you want to check out a rocket launch up close, and I don't know how they're going to specifically aim it towards photographers, but normally the really awesome photos you get from launches are actually from remote cameras. People actually go and they put their camera equipment close up to the launch pad, well within the danger zone where humans are not allowed. Sometimes they put them in like protective casings and whatnot, and they're normally sound activated. So when the sound of the engines fire is that when it starts clicking off the shutter. So I don't know if that would be kind of cool if... Oh no, Wolfie! No, Wolfie! Wolfie! All right, get him to spawn over here. Oh god. No, spawn over here. Get. Are you okay? Yeah, you're okay. Do not spawn under ice, crazy man. Everybody freeze. I apologize. Let's make some new shears. Our shears broke in the last episode. Yoink. Whoop, thank you. But, cow! What a noodle. Speaking of goobs, there's one right there. But yeah, that would be cool if they allowed you to set up your cameras somewhere close, and then the launch goes off, and then you were allowed to go back and recover them. But I doubt that's the case. That would be kind of a big deal. Usually it's pretty special, either within NASA people or press people who are allowed that. But yeah, anyway, yeah, check that out. Pretty cool. It'd be cool to see some Farlanders. I know if one or two was part of the last SpaceX one, although the launch for that one got delayed quite frequently, so I don't know that any of them actually got to stick around for the launch. But yeah, NASA Social. Woo! Rocket launches! What else we got going on here? It's about midday. I can answer a few questions from donors to Child's Play charity. You can leave them in your comments with the donation. Anonymous asks, what is something you've always wanted to do but never had the gumption? The gumption! I would say probably take a flying lesson, private pilots. Maybe not get a total private pilot's license, but that's something that always interested me, flight and whatnot. But I don't know, I just never got around to doing that. I actually feel really bad because somebody got me a gift of oh, your first flight, it wasn't cheap either. Those things are $100 or more bucks, and I never took it upon myself to redeem that, and I feel really bad. But yeah, that's one of those difficult things that I just don't know if. I certainly don't think I have the gumption. I don't have the gumption for it, is what it rolls down to. The person who asked and used that question, or used that word in your question. But, this almost goes all the way down to the water. That's unfortunate. So close, yet so far. So yeah, I'd say that. I mean, I don't really care to go skydiving or anything ever, or anything like that. So yeah, let's go with maybe take a flight lesson or something. Oh, I did not need to do that. Similarly, Dig Down Deep asked, Kurt, what are the items on your bucket list? What is up with getting around this flat cliff face? I'm going the wrong way here. I should have been going north, but dag nabbit, get out of my way! Stupid terrain. Bucket list. I don't have a bucket list. I don't feel like I'm old enough to have a bucket list or to be thinking about buckets in any capacity. But, yeah, fly a plane. I would like, I've said this before, I would like to, like, race a race car. Not necessarily like a race car, but, you know, enter into a competitive race. Whether or not it be something like autocross or rally cross. There's like clubs. I forget what they're specifically called. There's some nationwide organization that has different chapters and clubs who they have tracks they go to, and you're basically, if you're a member of the club and you sign up and you pay whatever entry fee, you could just take your, it's not recommended, but you could take your daily driver and just like, ooh, drive it around the course to see how fast you can do it. It's, like I said, not recommended you do it with your daily driver because you're gonna run the wheels off of it. But yeah, that seems like that'd be fun. Rally. As much as I was not a fan of the dirt games, I was a fan of the rallying part of the dirt games, but the rest of them I did not like. I really like the way rally racing looks and looks like it feels, you know. It just seems a lot more... I don't want to say it's more forgiving, because I'm sure it's not, but it seems, you know, whereas tarmac racing on a course, you know, like your F1 racing, you really have to hit your marks on the dot, and it's really all about finesse and knowing the track. Rally racing just seems like, blah, you know, going over dirt very fast in jumps and turning and sliding. Even though I know you have to hit your marks, you have to hit your apexes, you have to know your turns, you have to have your notes, your grid notes, what are those called? Track notes and your co-driver and things. But it just seems like a lot of fun. And you know, one thing I wish was in the dirt games more were the actual. Those trucks, the rally, what are those called? They're called something, once again, that I'm not quite remembering what they are, but they're just the big pickup trucks, and they run against each other in like arena rally arena, or something like that. And those look just crazy, insane, fun to drive. But yeah, those sort of things, like I said, not really, I could live without... ever going skydiving or anything like that, or bungee jumping. Hey, guy. It would be cool. I've been to the Grand Canyon. It would be cool to hike. I didn't go this far. I just went a little bit in. But to hike all the way to the basin, the river, which is a multi-day trek, and you would need to camp out, which I was not particular about at that time, nor was I prepared for. But that would be cool. Watching the sunset, Wolfie? Woof. Yeah, he was. It's a nice sunset, isn't it? Over the desert. I don't know why I went all Southern Belle there. I do declare I am getting the vapors. But yeah, you know, goofy things like that. But I certainly have not been keeping a list of bucket list items, nor have I really been like, oh, I have only so many years left before I can do this, that, or the other thing. So... certainly be on public radio in Europe I can check off the list and make a total goob of yourself. Oh man. Anyway, this has been episode 351 of Farlands or Busts. Do appreciate you following along and checking out all the little crazy mishaps and appearances and whatnot I'm making throughout the webs. I'm trying, you know, it's one leads to the next, and it's hard to just say no. So I just don't respond, is how I say no if somebody wants to interview me or something like that. I am a jerk. So yeah, now that we've settled that, thank you so much for watching. Keep donating to Child's Play charity at farlandsorbust.com. You help get toys, books, and games to kids in hospitals around the world. A great cause, and one we've been supporting for almost 3 years now. We started in June 2011 with that, so I suppose we'll have to have another sort of charity milestone during that time. But yeah, my name is Kurt. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time.